Which sounds better, spinach or brownie? Most Americans will choose the latter. And why? Simply because of the amount of sugar that it contains. On the website atr.org, Laurel Caves wrote, America will produce approximately 11,885,000 tons of sugar in a year, which is equal to almost 24 billion pounds. And this is just America's production of sugar. We are actually only the 5th highest producer of sugarcane in the world, following Brazil, who's in the number 1 slot. According to Justin Walton from Investopedia, Brazil produces around 721 million metric tons of sugar, which is just over 1.4 trillion pounds. The US not only produces one of the highest amounts, but we also consume the highest amount of sugar. Due to this high rate of sugar consumption, major issues can start to emerge, affecting not only your physical health, but also your psychological and your emotional health. So today I'm going to discuss why America should cut down on not only their sugar production, but also their sugar consumption. First, I'm going to talk about the 3 health concerns that are affected by sugar. So physical, psychological, and emotional. Obviously, we all know that eating a lot of sugar can cause obesity, but not a lot of people know how much obesity can affect your physical health, and not even a lot of people know how it occurs. So to keep it simple, sugar is used for energy in the body, and this energy is stored in the muscles, in the liver, and the blood. But when an individual is sedentary, meaning that they're bringing in a lot more than they're burning off, this energy needs to be stored somewhere. And this is where adipocytes, which are fat cells in the body, comes into play. But the problem is that over time, when you're still bringing in a lot more than you're burning off, these fat cells start to expand because they're having to store more glucose. And this causes obesity. And obesity, no matter if it's related to genetics or diet, can all greatly increase the risk of developing severe health conditions. According to StanfordHealthcare.org, obese individuals have a much higher risk of developing high blood pressure, diabetes, heart problems, joint problems, and even cancer. Most of these diseases are caused by the high ratio of sugar in the bloodstream. But how does sugar intake affect our psychological health? Well, we can see in a trial performed by Dr. Serge Ahmed, who's a professor from the University of Bordeaux in France, where he tested the addiction of sugar versus cocaine using rats. Connie Bennett from the Huffington Post wrote an article about this trial, and she said that at the very beginning, the rats were given both sugar and cocaine, and at the very end, they were given a choice to choose between the two, and 94% of them chose sugar. Why is this? Dr. Serge stated that the sugar triggered the production of the brain's natural opiates, or morphine-like compounds. And this is why sugar is so addictive and why we crave it all the time. It's extremely easy to get hooked on because it triggers this production of hormones such as dopamine, which we all know makes us happy. Along with psychological problems, the overconsumption of sugar can actually cause a lot of emotional problems that most individuals aren't even aware of. In an article in Forbes, DeSalvo wrote, "Addiction and mood disorders are closely associated. This is because they're both related to the amount of dopamine that's released in the bodies. But excess dopamine can cause complications in the brain and therefore cause cellular inflammation. And cellular inflammation is basically the disruptions of hormonal signaling, which is actually one of the main causes of mental illnesses such as depression. Salvo makes a good point when he says that sugar is not the brain's enemy. Excess sugar is. Because the brain cells actually need twice as much energy as regular body cells do, which means that they do in fact need sugar. But when they have an excess amount of sugar, their function is increasing, which can actually cause a lot of disruptions in hormonal signaling. Even though not all causes of obesity originate from diet, they can all be prevented using the same method. The most obvious solution is to cut down or completely eliminate your sugar intake. In an article in the Washington Post by Roberto Ferdinand, it says that in the United States alone, the average person consumes more than 126 grams of sugar per day, which is more than twice what the World Health Organization recommended for daily intake. So, by cutting your sugar by more than or less than 2/3, you can almost completely prevent the health conditions that I previously stated. But for most people, this is a very tricky task, not only because sugar is so addictive, but also because it's all around us. Therefore, having the US alter their laws on the amount of sugar that they produce, import, and market can greatly affect the amount of overconsumption that occurs in the United States. Another solution is to make laws on the classification of sugar a lot more strict, because some sugars legally don't have to be classified as sugars. So when you're at the grocery store and you pick a product that has this sugar in it, you're actually consuming a lot more than you think you are. Finally, we can make others aware of the dangers of overconsuming sugar, and hopefully with this awareness, more people will push for an increase in sugar regulation. Okay, so here's my audience. Yay.